Okay, it is 4 o'clock. I will call this meeting to order. Please stand to sing our national anthem. Please be seated. And we'll now have the roll call for our regular meeting.
Mayor Sue Patterson,
Present.
Deputy Mayor Warren Dickert,
Present.
Councillor Harold Fleet,
Present.
Councillor Dave Hawking,
Present.
Councillor Carol Hudson, present, Councillor Brandon Cable,
Present.
Councillor Susan Zackel.
Present. Thank you. All members are accounted for. The land acknowledgement. As we work toward reconciliation with Indigenous people, we begin our meeting today by respectfully acknowledging that we are situated on the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe Nation, the people of Three Fires, known as Ojibwe, Odawa, and Potawatomi nations, and further give thanks to the Chippewas of Saugeen and the Chippewas of Nawash, now known as the Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, as the traditional keepers of this land. So welcome to our regular council meeting for Monday, December 16th, 2024. Good afternoon, council, staff, guests, the viewing public, and the media. Council, does anyone have a disclosure of pecuniary interest or a conflict of interest? If one should arise during the meeting, you may declare it then. Item 5, we do not have any agenda additions or deletions. Item 6, we do not have delegations. And item 7, we do not have any business arising from the minutes. Item 8 is council and committee of the whole minutes. 8.1 is our regular council meeting minutes from November 18th. I need a mover and seconder to put that on the floor. Councillor Fleet and Deputy Mayor Dickert. You'll remember that at that meeting, we did have a delegation from Launchpad with the chair, Adam Olivero, and Julia Malott, Julia, director from Launchpad. Savannah Myers was also present. She is the Grey County's Director of Economic Tourism and Culture. And she did share that Grey County is committed to collaborating with the town to meet shared strategic goals. April Marshall presented information about the HIP Entrepreneur Business Pitch Competition winner announcement. And I do want to highlight that $11,000 in prizes, including products and services, were awarded to 3 winners. And I always like to give the names because, you know, you hear these reports and they say, you know, that 3 people or 3 businesses, and you never find out who. So the first place finalist was Kids Play Indoor Play Center. The second place finalist was the Alley Family Entertainment Center. And the third place winner was Craft C&C. So it's exciting. The bowling alley will be opening soon. So, all right. And that's all I have for highlights. Any comments or questions? All in favor of approving the regular council meeting minutes from November 18th. That is carried. Thank you. Item 8.2 is Committee of the Whole meeting minutes from December 2nd, and I need a mover and seconder to put those on the floor. Councillor Hudson and Councillor Sacco. That evening, we had a delegation from Luigi Presta. He's with Think Compass in Grey County, and Steve Furness was also here, and they spoke about the Saugeen Municipal Airport. And that's my only highlight for those sets of minutes. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all in favor? That is carried. 8.3 is the special council meeting minutes from December 9th. And I need a mover and seconder to put those on the floor. Deputy Mayor Dickert and Councillor Sacco. And I don't think I need to highlight those. It was our budget meeting. So, we have to approve them. All in favor? Thank you. That's carried. All right, item 9 is staff reports. And the first one, 9.1, is report PRC 19-2024. The subject is the P&H Center lease agreements approval. It's from Laura Christian, our Director of Parks, Recreation and Culture, and I need a mover and seconder to put that on the floor. Councillor Fleet and Councillor Hudson. Laura.
Thank you, Worship. Good evening, Council. When the P&H Center was originally being designed, architecturally, the auxiliary room, which we call it, was originally designed to operate as a sporting goods or pro shop. And upon facility opening, the needs of the community changed, and the space was actually used and developed as our CIP office until 2019. In 2019, the auxiliary room was converted into a meeting space once the CIP operations dissolved. This room, if in case council is unaware of where exactly it's located, it is directly beside the players corridor. It is very conveniently located adjacent to the east entrance. It is located within a very high traffic area we consider, which is our main floor lobby. It is a prime location for suitable and various applications. And we certainly staff recognize this as being a excellent revenue opportunity for the P&H Center. In August of 2024, we sent out our phase 1 of our expression of interest. And that was released on the town's website as well as social media platforms. We also did send it to some individual groups as well. And the purpose of this expression of interest was to gauge the community's interest in that space and to consider proponents to occupy that space and also participate in a formal bid process or lease negotiation. So we asked in their expression of interest for the proponents to require to submit a cover letter with a explanation of their proposed use for the auxiliary room. We also asked them to provide their experience, who they are, the description of the products or services in which they were looking to develop. Upon closing of the expression of interest, 4 submissions were received by the September 9th deadline. The 4 were included the Hanover Swim Club, New Breed Gaming Center, New Breed Sporting Goods, and number 4, the Hanover Family Health Team. The PRC Advisory Committee was involved with this expression of interest. And at the time of our meeting, we reviewed the submissions, and each submission was evaluated based on the type of the development that was proposed, and what was very important to make sure that it fit within our facility and it aligned with our community needs, and also that it included the proponents' qualifications were evaluated as well. All 4 of those submissions were invited to advance to the next phase of the process, in which they were asked to submit a bid to add to their proposals. Staff and the PRC committee faced a challenge, as all of the submissions were very highly competitive, each offering a unique benefit. But after consideration, the PRC committee eliminated the arcade facility. But still we're having trouble to determine which was the best proposal. So the PRC committee's consensus at that time was to have staff explore the possibility of accommodating more than just one proposal by identifying additional space within the P&H Center that could accommodate more than one. This approach was aimed to maximize the value and provide opportunities for multiple parties involved. We did investigate the camp office and the classroom as being potential alternatives to the auxiliary room. It was determined that the camp office is necessary for PRC operations. So we did remove that out of the consideration, but we did determine that the classroom had some potential. The classroom, excuse me, is located on the second floor of the P&H Center, and it's at the end of that pool viewing area gallery. It is approximately 570 square feet. There is a block wall construction. It also has a drop tile ceiling, fluorescent lighting, and a small kitchenette. There are washroom facilities just right outside the door within close proximity to the classroom as well. So I'm going to take a moment now to kind of talk about what the proposals included. I'm going to start with the Hanover Family Health Team. So the Hanover Family Health Team is proposing to operate the space for group exercise programming space. The Hanover Family Health Team, we presented the classroom to them as an alternative opportunity, and they felt that the classroom did suit their needs well, and they would equally be interested in a long-term rental for the classroom to host their group exercise programs. In case anyone was unclear of the Hanover Family Health Team, it is our non-for-profit organization that provides services to prevent illness, promote health, and help patients manage their chronic conditions. Their facility that they operate does lack the space in order to host these programs on site. So making the P&H Center our walking track and the surrounding areas is the perfect location to offer these various health programs, aiming to support physical rehabilitation and wellness for our local patients. The Hanover Family Health Team is interested in seeking a 1-year rental for the classroom with the opportunity to renew should that be successful upon expiry. I'll next go into our New Breed Sporting. So the tenant proposes to rent the auxiliary room to establish a sporting goods and apparel retail operation. In addition, they are looking to also offer skate sharpening services. The retail store will also establish partnerships with local community organizations to sell local team apparel, so referring to the Barons and also our Saugeen Valley minor hockey. The tenant is proposing to add some shelving, slat wall, counter, additional lighting, and paint to the auxiliary room to suit their needs. However, based on that requires some time, and they are wanting to have a grand opening of the store for the 2025-26 season. So starting in September when our ice goes back in. Because this is over 10 months away, we're looking at some alternatives for that interim period. So the tenant has agreed during that interim period that they would pay 30% of the rent during that time while we still have the ability to rent that room out. So certainly it's something where this room doesn't see a lot of rental action. But until any of the improvements have done in the room, it would still kind of remain within our inventory, let's say, and could be rented out as needed. This percentage of rent would increase to 50% as soon as the construction starts. At that point, we would not be able to rent out the space, and so we would be a little bit more handcuffed there. So we've increased that rent to 50%. Also, during the interim period, should the proponent be interested in renting a space for a pop-up store to build awareness for their brand, and that would be available at a discounted rate of 50% of the rental rate, which calculates to $89 per day. And all of these terms that I've just went through now will expire upon September 2025 when full occupancy of the space is expected. So the staff, as well as the PRC Advisory Committee, are recommending that we enter into lease agreements with both proponents, the New Breed Sporting for the auxiliary room and the Hanover Family Health Team for the classroom. Key elements of both agreements include a rental rate, the renewal and termination clause, any alterations that I talked about earlier, would be at the responsibility of the tenant. The tenant is also responsible for completing any of their own janitorial or custodial maintenance. And certainly the tenant will agree to adhere to all relevant regulations and guidelines pertaining to the space and the operations of the P&H Center. So the projected revenue under the financial implications, the New Breed Sporting would be $5,385.60 per year, or $448 per month. The Hanover Family Health Team at $5,232 or $436 per month. I have provided in your report that the auxiliary room, just to give you an idea of the rental revenue. So currently for 2024, the auxiliary room has brought in just under $1,000 and the classroom has brought in approximately $2,200. So in both of these cases, it certainly would be increased revenue for the P&H Center. So transitioning to this long-term agreement, it will certainly provide a secure revenue stream, an increased and secure revenue stream that is expected to exceed financial returns generated from our previous single rental model. This shift in strategy will offer greater stability and increased revenue to our operations. The recommendation before you this evening is that report PRC 1924 P&H Center lease agreements be approved. Approval be received, and that staff be directed to confirm the lease agreements, and that the mayor and CEO be authorized to sign a 3-year agreement with New Breed Sporting for the purposes of operating a sporting goods and apparel retail operation within the P&H Center auxiliary room, and that the mayor and CEO be authorized to sign a 1-year agreement with the Hanover Family Health Team for the purposes of providing group exercise and education for Hanover Family Health Team patients in the classroom. Thank you. Certainly, if there's any questions, I'm happy to take those.
Thanks, Laura. Are there questions? Councillor Fleet and then Deputy Mayor Dicker.
Thank you, Laura, for that report. You know, it's great to see this space being utilized, you know, with the cuts you've had to make in the budget this year and cutting swim times and closing on Sundays. It's great to see this extra revenue coming into Parks and Recreation. So I support it 100%.
Deputy Mayor.
Yes, just echo Councillor Fleet's comments. Thank you for your innovative thinking and for utilizing our assets to their fullest. And I certainly support it. So thank you. Well done.
Councillor Hawking.
Thank you, Worship. Excellent report, Laura. You know, when we went and applied for the grants for P&H Center, that this was one of the aspects, not just an arena, but other services that surround that arena. So, you know, the walking track. And I'm really quite pleased to see the health team being part of our P&H Center. So well done. And we can always use the extra income. Thank you.
Laura, I have a couple of questions. Does New Breed Sporting have a physical address anywhere in Ontario?
This would be their primary location. So really, as far as a physical location would be the proponent's household, if anything, and this is a resident of Hanover.
Okay. Do their hours align with the P&H Center hours?
They will. We haven't received their hours of operation just yet, but in the agreement, we are asking that the hours of operation must align with the P&H Center hours of operation, which does fluctuate. And also in the agreement, we have reserved the right to alter the facility hours if needed. So they will be required to work within existing facility hours.
Okay, and then I'm going to assume that references have been checked.
Correct. References were very, very positive.
And then insurance. They need to have their own insurance.
Correct. I believe the agreement calls for 2 million, excuse me. I think it's 2 million as part of their contract.
Very good. Any other questions, comments? All right, all in favor of report PRC 19/2024. That is carried. Item 9.2 is report PRC 2024. And it is the splash pad in phase 1 Center of Excellence request for proposal. It's from Laura Christian, our Director of Parks, Recreation and Culture. And I need a mover and seconder to put that on the floor. Councillor Sackle and Councillor Hawking. Go ahead, Laura.
Thanks again, Your Worship. So I will go through the background just a little bit. So since July of 2022, the town has been working to advance the development of a splash pad in our community, and that was originally brought forward with a grassroots community group. And in 2023 and 2024, key development work has been completed, including in April of 2023, we established a committee. In July of 2023, we hired a landscape architect to complete a feasibility study, as well as a costing estimate. And also at that time, we completed a community-wide survey to gather data from our residents. In August of 2023, we determined the location at Town Park. And in October 2023, we approved a fundraising plan. In October 2024, we got the approval to move forward, excuse me, with an RFP for the project. And of course, our most recent, we have announced that our fundraising goal has been met. So that's a really brief summary of our background. So I'll move into the discussion relating to this report that on October the 21st, the RFP for the design, supply, and installation of a splash pad, washroom upgrades, and park enhancements at Hanover Town Park was posted on the town's website and Bid and Go, and was also sent to some known suppliers. We conducted a site meeting on November the 29th, and 2 proposals were received by the deadline on December 9th. I have provided that, all the breakdown of both of the proposals in your package, so I'm not going to go through each line by line, but we did stipulate, the RFP did stipulate that the town did have the right to include or exclude any of the specific items based on overall budget. However, I will comment that it is recommended that this contract be awarded as a whole. Awarding this contract as a whole is preferred for a couple of reasons. Firstly, it ensures that the project is completed in a cohesive and integrated manner without increased costs that could be incurred if items are deferred. Secondly, there are additional items such as lighting or creating that gravel overflow parking lot, and particularly the campers washroom renovation that we feel is integral for the success and functionality of the splash pad and the broader Center of Excellence Park development as well. So we feel that excluding these items could result in an incomplete project and may not fully meet the needs and expectations of the community. By awarding this contract as a full package, the town can capitalize on any efficiencies and any cost savings associated with a single unified project, while also ensuring that the end result is something that we're very pleased with and a well-designed project. I am noting that there is some flexibility relating to the contingency. So contingency, we had originally allocated as 50,000. So in order to ensure that this project is within the proposed 2025 budget, it is recommended that it is reduced to 35,000. Contingency is one thing that did come up in the discussion with we had interviews with the two proposals. We talked about the contingency. The proponent thought that the contingency was likely not needed to be used. The plans, the drawings, the design looked really solid, he had indicated, but again, there are times where there are things that do come up with projects that we're unsure of, so it is recommended to still keep a contingency in place. The proposals were thoroughly evaluated. It wasn't just based on lowest bidder. There was a full evaluation. It was based on the company's background, their experience, their capacity, the design, the warranty, the construction plan, project timeline, price, and of course, overall value. After a thorough review of the bids, and completing interviews with both proponents, staff, and the splash pad committee are recommending that the contract be awarded to Yard Weasels, Inc. This recommendation is based on several advantageous features from their proposal, including the extensive experience of the firm, the well-designed layout, overall project value, that made this proposal the preferred choice. They have also completed a number of projects in our area. They're the splash pad in Walkerton, Chesley, Paisley, as well as references have also been contacted. They provided a number of references for us, including the city of Guelph, which also included a washroom. Also, the center of Wellington also included a washroom, and town of Collingwood. These are some more recent ones, all 2024. So the references have all come back very favorably as well. I am waiting for one more. I didn't hear back in time of the meeting. I was hopeful, but that is something that I will follow up if needed. Financial implications. So I guess this is still a correct at the time of preparing this this report. The capital budget was not approved. Thus, the report content references the proposed budget. So we will adjust that once we get to the recommendations. So relating to the project budget, the RFP that is submitted is within the project budget. It is important to note that there are some additional items that have been identified as Center of Excellence Phase 1 items that have been included. So these items include the relocated parking lot, the renovation to the campers' washrooms, additional park lighting, and the replacement of a set of stairs with a ramp that connects the splash pad to the existing pavilion. So we tried to do our very, very best. Not everything is broken out specifically line for line for line. So we tried to give council as much options as possible. But for example, in the case of lighting, I'll use as an example that kind of falls under electrical. And in the case of our lighting, it is proposed that we would do underground wiring, for example. So in that case, we would recommend that would happen at this time because of the concrete work that will be included in the project. I'd hate to put in concrete work and then go ahead with lighting and have to replace and repair sections of concrete. There are also additional project costs that are not included in this project that will be in addition. These items include signage, site furnishings, the vegetation and plantings, as well as a traffic inhibitor along the interior park road at Town Park to add to the safety of our users that are looking to potentially cross from the splash pad to the adjacent playground. So these items have been estimated an additional $36,500. So with the bid price of $758,000 $150. Plus the 36.5 estimated additional items and the taxes, we are coming in at $808, 636. And the budget that has been proposed is 809,800, with 640 being allocated for the splash pad and 169.8 for these Center of Excellence Phase 1 components. As per the proposed 2025 budget, the financing for both of the capital projects is a combination of internal borrowing and the splash pad fundraising. Currently, the splash padding fundraising total is at 362,000, and donations are still coming in and still being accepted. And it is projected that the borrowing will be 759,800. Sorry, I did say that wrong. I said 7. Yeah, it's only 400. Thanks, Chris. 459,800 with the repayment to bank to begin in 2026. I'm sorry, everybody. No heart attacks. Yeah. So the recommendation, I think we will be revising that if is the clerk going to provide that recommendation for this evening?
You can go ahead and state that recommendation and then as is, because
Okay.
that's what's on the report. And then I will ask for questions or comments. And if we are going to vote on this, we will need an amendment for pre-budget approval. If we don't have that approval, we don't go ahead with this report. So you can read the recommendation as is.
Thank you, Your Worship. The recommendations before you this evening is that report PRC 2024 splash pad and phase 1 COE request for proposal be received, and that the mayor and CEO be authorized to enter into an agreement with Yard Weasels Inc. for the design, supply, and installation of a splash pad, washroom upgrades, and park enhancements for the total cost of $723,150, which is exclusive of contingency and the taxes.
Thanks, Laura. Okay, comments, questions? Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Laid out very well. Thank you, Laura. Just curious why there's such a fluctuation between the quotes for some of the items. For example, the concrete pad, it's, 62,000 with one. And then on the flip side of that, the other company for the colored concrete is another 15,000. So there's a lot of variation and it just sort of carries on down through there. So can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, through Your Worship, that was 100% identified by staff and the committee as well. There is quite a bit of fluctuation, and there's two things with it. Two comments that I'll make. The first one is, in some cases, for example, the proponent would allocate, say, for example, the sidewalk would be included as the concrete versus the landscaping. So some of it depends on the bucket, let's call it, that amount has been put into. I think what I would direct council to is that when we add up all of the buckets, we're a difference of about 13,000. So which one proponent may have bid in one category, it may have been put into the other. Another comment that I will make relating to this is we feel that the amounts that have been put forward by the Yard Weasels Inc. Based on some of the pre-feasibility numbers that was received by our plural landscape architect are very much in line with what we were expecting. On the other side, some of them were a little bit higher than expected. A good example would probably be our campers washrooms. There's a difference of 30,000 on that one, for example. But the 65,000, we've recently had that priced out from a local professional. And it very much, the 65,000, for example, was very much in line with what we're expecting. So that hopefully answers your question and more.
It does. I do have a question though about the parking lot, the gravel parking lot, which is existing. 30,000 seems to be quite a bit. Is that something that our public works people can take care of? It's fairly level. I know there'll be a lot of cleanup, et cetera, but, and Ron is gone.
Through your worship. I actually asked Ron, so it's okay that he's not here. We did talk about that last week. And he had indicated that no, they're not in a position to be able to complete that work. It would require a grader, a packer, and a list of equipment that he actually does not have that we would need to rent or whatever the case is. So no, he is not in a position to be able to provide that.
Councillor Cable?
Thank you, Your Worship. Excellent report, Laura. Just wondering if you could clarify. I was trying to find information on the Yard Weasel website on the weekend, but wasn't a lot of detail there. Are they both a design firm and an installation company? Because there was a reference to the boardwalk project that was done in Waterloo, and it looked like they had brought in Yard Weasel to do the install, but then there was a design firm that was assisting. Is that a similar scenario here?
Through your worship, yes, it is, Councillor Cable. So in the case of, it would be ABC Recreation who would be providing that design of the splash pad.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Dickert?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Laura. It's exciting to see this moving further down the road and closer to fruition. You mentioned the project timeline. What is it? When would they be starting? When would they have it completed? And the other question I had, the 36.5 for the additional items, who would be doing them and when would that be completed?
So through your worship, the timelines were quite similar between the two proposals. And it would depend on one thing, the Saugeen Valley Conservation. We have a application that is pending approval right now. So that will be the first thing. We certainly will wait until that is in place. We are anticipating that in the new year, early in the new year. The companies have indicated that they would probably try and potentially start to do perhaps the washroom work a little bit earlier. That could happen essentially before the weather is good. And then, of course, it would depend on weather, but both companies had indicated that a June opening would be reasonable. So that would be in line with the committee's wishes as well. And then to answer your second question, the other stuff, so signage, furnishings, plantings, and crosswalk, most of this will be like the signage, for example, we've pulled the signage out. We have a lot of donors to recognize. Same with the furnishings. Like, for example, part of our recognition is, I believe that was for our $10,000 or above. It would be have your name recognized on a bench. So we wanted to pull all that out so that we could take care of that, recognizing our donors. So signage, furnishing, plantings also will be completed by town staff. And the crosswalk is the only one that I don't have. That's something I will need to look into how that will be completed.
And when we say crosswalk, are we just talking like a painted crosswalk and signage to go with it? Is that and would it be like a crosswalk where traffic has to stop, or how is this being designed?
Through your worship. So what's currently in the plan that was provided from Plural was an actual stop sign, hash marks, and then potentially a speed bump. So this is the roadway or pathway that would be cuts in between the playground and the splash pad. That's what we're referring to as a crosswalk. This does not relate to 7th Ave. If we've looked into that, potential for a crosswalk would be very, I don't even want to put a dollar amount to it, but it would be very costly. in order to do that, and would also, it's a county road, so there would be some complications there. Something we can look at in the future if that's what council would like us to investigate. But the specifics on this contract is for that speed inhibitor for the park pathway or driveway.
Counselor Hawking?
Thank you, Worship. Just for council's information, I sat in on the interviews and I was most impressed with both parties. I must say that I support the committee's decision to support Laura's report. And the one that we've chosen, if I could use this word, was very polished. They know what they're doing. So I have no concerns whatsoever with workmanship. They knew what they knew where they were talking, and I was impressed. Thank you.
And Counselor Hudson?
Thank you, Your Worship. So I'm just wondering, Laura, with the additional items, the 36.5, and the Splash Pad Committee has over exceeded their fundraising goals. Can any of that additional monies be put towards that 36,000 for the additional items to get them done, as opposed to deferring them to a possible other year?
Chris?
Through you, Your Worship. In our budget for 2025, we have 350,000 down as donations and the balance coming from reserves. So any additional monies that we get over and above will cover that amount. And part of that 36.5 is part of that 809 that is in the whole budget. So there's no tax dollars that are being implemented in 2025. It's all either from reserves and donations, with the reserve amount picking up any that the donations do not have. And they've already exceeded their 300,000.
Maybe just to clarify too, like that 36.5, it's not being recommended that it be deferred. That's happening. That amount is included in that and included in that total and is within the proposed budget amount. So it's not being deferred, just to clarify.
Anything further, Counselor Hudson? No? Counselor Cable, your hand is raised. Do you have a further comment or question?
No, thank you, Your Worship.
Okay. At this time, if we are going to vote on this report, we need an amendment that council provide pre-budget approval for the Splash Pad and Center of Excellence projects, which is in the financial implications of this report. So I would need a mover and seconder for that. Counselor Sackle, Counselor Hawking. So this is the amendment for pre-budget approval. All in favor? 5. And Counselor Cable, in favor?
Yes.
Thank you. That is carried. So now we move back to the main motion, which was moved by Counselor Sackle and seconded by Counselor Hawking. All in favor? And Counselor Cable, in favor of the main motion?
Yes.
Thank you. That is carried. All right, item 10 is committees of council minutes, and we have 4 sets of minutes plus subcommittee minutes. So I need a mover and seconder to before we highlight those. Deputy Mayor Dickert and Counselor Fleet. So the first one, 10.1, is the Joint Health and Safety Committee minutes from December 9th. And Melissa, I see you are online.
Yeah. Thank you, Your Worship. You're able to hear me okay?
Yes, we are.
Perfect. So during the Health and Safety Committee meeting on December 9th, we adopted minutes from October 8th meeting, discussed work that is going on for the town's confined space program and the hearing conservation program, as well as some updates made under the Occupational Health and Safety Act, which will allow the town to provide electronic copies of the Green Book, as people know it as, versus physical copies of the Act. Monthly inspection and incident reports were reviewed, but no trends identified at this time. The committee updated the SHARP safety guideline and completed annual review of our health and safety policy statement, workplace violence and harassment program in preparation for 2025. So council will see those come forth in the new year. And they also established some goals for 2025, which will also come to council. Annual evaluations of committee meetings and overall function were completed, and showing that meetings were productive and well organized. Opportunities for improvement included the idea to rotate the location of meetings from different departments, and also further analyzing incident reports and increasing meeting attendance of members. Discussion occurred around encampment cleanup, which will remain on our agenda for future discussion. And we also discussed mold in the workplace and the need to create an informational package for staff. A review of 2024 goals and objectives showed that we made good progress in 2024, though we did note a deferral of workplace investigations training into 2025 and the continuation of confined space and hearing conservation program work into 2025. We then set a meeting schedule for 2025, followed by adjournment. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any, Councillor Sacco?
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, thank you, Melissa, for that report. First of all, I'd like to thank your committee for all the work that you do. You seem to be working in the background, so to speak, but the work you do is so very, very important. So please extend my thanks to your committee. I'm curious about the encampment comments that are in the report. How many encampments did our staff need to deal with this year?
Thank you, Councillor Sacco. I may need to defer that question to perhaps Laura. We didn't discuss numbers, but more so the situation in general and how that can best be addressed when staff need to clean up.
I can provide some insight too. So just with our encampment process, I think we had between 4 and 6 encampments noted since May 2024. And we are in regular communication with Grey County Homelessness and Housing Group accordingly about our encampment sites.
Okay, Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Melissa. You mentioned that the Green Book is now available online for all employees. Where is the material safety data sheets also an online version, or are they in hard copy?
Answer you, Your Worship, we have both. So departments have physical binders within their work locations, and then we also have online accessible through both the staff intranet and a generic website link.
Melissa, I have a comment, more or less, and maybe you can answer or someone else. The Binkley Patterson Pavilion with the blocking off in the kitchen until it is cleaned up. Can you speak to that? Because I'm concerned about when things are blocked off, people still seem to find a way to get past where they shouldn't go. So I'm thinking of liability and insurance costs. Can we, is it feasible to not rent it in the future at all until this is cleared up?
I'll start and then I'll invite Laura to jump in. She may have some further insight for the second part of your question. So just to start, I've confirmed with the manager of Parks and Rec facilities that it can be locked. The access to the kitchen can be securely locked so that it would prevent access. There would, I guess, then have to be considerable effort put in for someone to access that space. But using the existing lock features, it could be blocked off while still allowing access to the bathrooms and such.
Laura?
Yeah, through Your Worship, Melissa's correct. The door can be locked. Patrons can still have access to the washrooms as well as the meeting space in there. It was rented out. It is minimal. It is very minimal. There was only 2 rentals last year, mainly to operate during ball tournaments. And essentially everything's been the roof has all been boarded up at this time to kind of contain things. in the interim. But if it was council's wish to completely take this area off of the rental until this is remediated, we certainly could. The existing use, mainly, they like to use that pass-through window, but for the most part, they were barbecuing. So that, that was outside anyways, as well as the kitchen does have a really nice, large, beverage cooler that was utilized as well, and that pass-through window. That doesn't mean that we couldn't make some kind of, alternative for food sales and beverage sales to still occur at that location. We would just have to be a little bit more creative. Maybe not as ideal.
I think it would be wise, take it back to committee and discuss liability. Because it is an issue. If something happens, it's our responsibility. So if you can do that and report back, that'd be good. Thank you. Any other comments or questions? All right, we'll move on to the next item, 10.2, Economic Tourism and Cultural Development Advisory Committee minutes from November 20th. Councillor Sacco.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Economic Tourism and Cultural Development Advisory Committee met on Wednesday, November the 20th. We had a delegation that day from Kalina Sanford, who presented the Grey County Spotlight by Environics Analytics, and she believes that the dashboard is a powerful tool for municipalities to see data insights in order to make more informed decisions. So for instance, Hanover is growing in the 35 to 39 age group to support our workforce, and it shows that we're doing better at attracting younger families. Hanover indexes are very high, with having 24.7 of our structure types being apartments. The average household income of $94,698 is lower than the rest of Grey County, as well as Hanover's population with a university education level. Results also support that Hanover's older demographic is still part of the workforce and that our daytime population is high, being at 10,027 people. As well, under the stakeholders and initiative updates, April shared the success of the Mayor's Breakfast for Business with a panel discussion that included local employers this year. She also shared the Hip Up Entrepreneur Business Pitch Competition, which you so kindly presented the award winners already, Mayor Sue. April reviewed the recent women-owned business tour in Hanover, where owners shared their entrepreneurial stories. And she mentioned an Advancing Women Economically business training series that's coming up in 2025. And she also confirmed SEDC's Hawk's Nest, which is a Dragon's Den inspired event, which is going to happen right here in Hanover in June of 2025. Are there any questions regarding?
Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you for the report. This question is likely more directed to our CAO Alden. It's interesting when I read through there that most of our residents tend to be underpaid. Just wondered, does the town in our procurement policy give any credit to proposals that come in, whereas the contractor or whatever the case may be do pay a living wage? Is there any procurement policy that recognizes that?
No, there currently is not. Our procurement policy doesn't have that kind of clause in it. I would think living wage has been is a fairly new term, for lack of a better descriptive in our procurement policy. Help me out, Chris. That's Diane Mather days, if that gives you any idea. So Treasurer Diane Mather days. So it's in need of updating, and that may be something we could look at. But no, there's no reflection of that. To be honest, we as a town are not a living wage employer either. So we may need to be a little bit cognizant of what we're making others do if we in fact are not doing that ourselves.
Okay. Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship. And this may be directed more at April. I was just wondering about the dashboard data. That was very interesting when you presented it last year. I'm just wondering if there's an opportunity soon to see some of those results.
Through Your Worship, yes, we have an annual subscription now. So yes, it will be upon us to do regularly reporting. So that's something I could see bringing to council through the Economic Tourism and Cultural Advisory Committee. But we also are working with Grey County to get regular reporting as well, so that we can start to benchmark this data and see where our strengths are and our weaknesses.
Perfect, thank you.
Okay, I don't see any other hands. Councillor Sacco, would you like to continue with the next set of minutes?
Thank you, Your Worship. The Cultural Roundtable met virtually on October the 8th. And for Music in the Square, the committee reviewed the attendance and feedback from the season and the change of day to Saturdays. And overall, the members felt that there was good attendance and that people liked all the things that were happening in the area. So they're going to stick with the Saturday choice. Under the Culture Days review, feedback from Culture Days activities was good. The launch of the Driftscape app was a fitting highlight that received a lot of media attention and excitement amongst the community. And the need to further build recognition and excitement of the events was noted. Bev Morgan commented that the Saugeen Artists Guild members were a little bit disappointed by the low traffic at the cultural showcase event, and they'd like a little bit more signage to draw people in from the fall market in the square. We also heard about the Sounds of Hanover concert, which was a sold-out event coordinated by the Hanover Library, and we thank them for that work, especially when they presented Larry Mercy with a Library Lifetime Achievement Award. So thanks for that. And Joint Cultural Roundtable and Saugeen Culture Bus Tour was also discussed. This is part of a relationship between Minto and Wellington North that we have set up, and it's really proving to be very beneficial, I think. The bus tour I was thrilled to be a part of was a lot of fun. It gave us an opportunity to stop and see places that we've driven by, but we've never stopped at before. And I know in the case of my husband and I, we went back to Arthur because we were so thrilled with what we experienced on that tour. So thank you to April Marshall and the group that did that. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Any comments or questions? Okay, one more, Councillor Sacco.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Hanover Heritage Subcommittee met on Thursday, October the 17th. And as a follow-up to what we were just talking about, the committee members were providing a cemetery tour with Al Morrow as part of that cultural bus tour. So that was enjoyable. The next P&H Center display will be shown in January with the theme of kitchenware. The committee is also looking for someone who could clean the clock tower for us. So if you know of anybody, my connection didn't work out, but maybe there's somebody else out there who cleans clock towers. And finally, the committee is looking to form a Friends of the Heritage Committee to assist with operations. So if there's anyone listening to our meeting today who might be interested, please contact Laura Kristen, the Director of Parks, Recreation and Culture. Are there any questions?
Thank you. Comments, questions? Okay, very good. Item 10.3 is the Age Friendly Advisory Committee minutes. Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Worship. Age Friendly met November 18th. I'll just go over some of the highlights. We had a delegation from Angela Jensen, staff lawyer at Grey Bruce Community Legal Clinic. She provided a presentation to the committee about her work in elder abuse awareness. Currently working with a 211 to create a contact for seniors who either are experiencing elder abuse or who knows someone who is experiencing it. When a person calls 211, they will provide the person with resources to use. Program will be set up and running with 211 by the end of November. We'll eventually be working with referral groups to equip them with tools to support these individuals that are experiencing elder abuse. Items for information, staying safe online. That was November 21st. Seniors Without Walls phone program, dementia friendly community flyer. The Senior Star is going to be delivered and out in March. And ad space is available for anybody wanting to take an ad in the Senior Star. Other business committee members provide an update on newspaper articles, and committee members want to thank residents for their patience when it came to the boil water advisory. And that's all I have to report from Age Friendly. I'd take any questions.
Thank you. Counselor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Counselor Fleet. I'm not aware, I do not know what the Seniors Without Walls phone program is. I'm wondering if you can maybe expand on that. I don't know anything about that program.
What I understand is that a senior that doesn't have a phone, they might have like a lifeline. That's what I understand. It's walls without phones, so they depend on this device if they have an issue, if they have a fall or whatever, to get help. And that's what I understand what the walls without phones is.
Does anyone have any knowledge of this? Laura, anything further?
No, unfortunately, I didn't participate in that discussion, so I'm not aware.
Sherry?
I was just gonna suggest, like, this was an item for information that's listed in the agenda, so typically they might be articles or news information or something like that, so maybe through Counselor Fleet, the agenda package, that information piece could be shared with you, Counselor Hudson. That might be an option to provide more info.
Okay. 10.4, Parks, Recreation and Culture Advisory Committee minutes. Counselor Cable.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Parks, Recreation and Culture Advisory Committee met on November the 27th. As part of the director updates, Laura noted that the splash pad project was presented to the Grey County Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee for feedback, which was positively received. And I believe that we have a comment further in our package regarding that meeting. It was also noted that the application for Stream 1, which was seeking to replace a 5,600 square foot section of roof on the P&H Center, had been submitted as part of the CSRIF grant. And our application for Phase 2, which was looking at the Kinsman Ballpark Pavilion upgrades, is still in progress. There was a note about arena lighting being scheduled for the first week of December, and it's my understanding that that project has been completed, which is very exciting. Councillor Fleet says it is remarkably bright, which is great. For aquatics and programs, the fall swim lessons ended the last week of November, and the next session will be beginning in mid-January, and residents can visit the Parks and Recreation website on the Town of Hanover website to see the winter community guide. Our main item for the meeting was the auxiliary room expression of interest, and that item was previously discussed with council this evening. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to take those.
Thank you. I don't see any hands raised, so we'll move on to the splash pad minutes. Counselor Hawking.
Thank you, Worship. I unfortunately could not make the meeting, so I think it's self-explanatory, but I don't have an answer to the Grey County Accessibility Advisory Committee. So if I could get Melissa or Laura to make a comment on that. Other than that, it's pretty straightforward because some of this information we dealt with tonight. So Laura?
Yeah, through your worship. Yes, we participated in the November 22nd Grey County Joint Health and Safety Committee. We are responsible to bring any projects forward to discuss accessibility. And so we presented that project. There were very minor recommendations that were brought forward as a result of that. And subsequently, we were given the approval from the committee to proceed.
Okay. All right, so that was the last set of minutes, moved by Deputy Mayor Dickert, seconded by Councillor Fleet. And we are receiving the information and approving the recommendations contained in the minutes that were just highlighted. All in favor? That is carried. Okay, we have two bylaws, and I need a mover and seconder before I ask the clerk for the intent of the bylaws. Councillor Cable and Councillor Sacco. Vicky?
Thank you, Your Worship. Bylaw 3321-24 is a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the November 18th, 2024 regular council meeting and the December 9th, 2024 special council meeting. bylaw 3322-24 is a bylaw to authorize the Housing Enabling Water System Fund Transfer Payment Agreement be entered into.
Thank you. So it's been moved by Councillor Cable, seconded by Councillor Sackle, that bylaw numbers 332124 and 332224 be introduced and that they be taken as read a first, second, and third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and inserted in the bylaw book. Are there any further questions with these bylaws? All in favor? That is carried. Item 12, we do not have any correspondence requiring action. Item 13 is reports and correspondence for information. 13.1 is report HR 0424. The subject is multi-year accessibility plan progress update. It's from Melissa Hilgendorf, our HR manager. Melissa?
Thank you, Mayor Patterson. Under the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act, the town is required to develop and maintain multi-year accessibility plans, and we do have one in place, but also to prepare annual status reports on the plan progress. So today I'm sharing an update regarding our 2023 to 2025 multi-year accessibility plan and the progress that's been made throughout 2024. I'm going to highlight some of the key items, though there's certainly more detailed information that's included within the report itself. We do have policies in place as required under legislation, and training is provided to all staff and volunteers, and departments do make efforts to provide accessible service. So these are things that are kind of ongoing all the time. We have various avenues available for the public to share feedback on the accessibility of our services, as well as to request alternative formats. And reasonable accommodations are provided to both the public and staff members as required and in consideration of their individual circumstances. We have many technological solutions that are used to enhance accessibility. This would include eScribe software and our updated website, which conforms to legislative standards. Accessibility is considered when building or renovating or redeveloping municipal spaces or facilities, including consultation with the Grey County Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee. In 2024, we did consult the committee specifically regarding sidewalk projects, community trail extensions, and the splash pad project. And we also seek input from the committee on developments that are happening in Hanover and share that feedback with developers. Even if that project is not specifically owned by the town of Hanover, but it does serve to help create a more accessible community overall. And our CIP program supports local businesses in enhancing the accessibilities of their services and facilities as well. Future efforts will support our strategic plan goal to complete an assessment of our facilities for accessibility and support the development of accessible documents as well. Overall, the town is doing well in meeting our compliance requirements under the AODA. And I feel that we are progressing well through our multi-year accessibility plan and continually working to improve. I'm open to, I'm not quite done yet, sorry. Financial implications, there are none associated with this report. It does support a number of strategic goals and actions, including safe and reliable infrastructure, healthy and welcoming community, open and responsible government. And the recommendation is that council receive report HR 0424 multi-year accessibility plan progress report for information purposes. And now I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thanks, Melissa. Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Worship, and thank you, Melissa, for the report. Couple questions. Page 90, it states that we would respond to all accessibility-related feedback. Does this apply to Saugeen Mobility as the town utilizes their services, or does the fact that we're a not-for-profit allow us to just deal with any feedback from Saugeen Mobility on their own?
Through you, Your Worship, that is something that would be handled independently of the town. Sometimes we do have inquiries that the public may associate with the town. And in that case, we would certainly refer it to the local party or board or business.
Okay, and on my second question is on page 92. It says remain committed to accessibility of transportation services within the municipality, but then goes on to say we do not provide transportation. Once again, would SMART not fall into that service that we're providing to our residents?
Yes, SMART certainly does provide the accessible transportation. This would be speaking to, this report speaks to transportation specifically provided by the town of Hanover itself, so owned and operated by the town of Hanover. So our involvement with SMART would not be the same as if, you know, we employed our own accessible taxi cabs or bus service, for example.
Okay, those were the answers I was hoping to get, so thank you.
All right, any other comments or questions? Thanks, Melissa. Item 13.2 is report PB 2924. The subject is the site plan control agreement at 453 9th Street. It's from Andrew Wilkin, our Director of Building and Planning and CBO. Andrew.
Thank you, Your Worship. In October of this year, the property owner at 953 9th Street approached the town regarding a conversion of current vacant space in an existing structure in the building located at that property. Previously, council may remember that it housed PB&J cleaning supplies, which has not been there for about a year or so. On November 20th of 2024, the owner finalized the site plan control agreement that you see before you today. What it allows is for the development of a fitness center in that portion of the building, which encompassed about 1,800 square feet. Within that building as well is Buyer's Pool and Spa, now the fitness center, and there's also some warehousing along the back. As part of the site plan control agreement, there's some parking requirements that need to be met based on the use of the fitness center as opposed to what was there previously, required more parking spaces. In the site plan control agreement, you will see that some of the properties parking area has been cleaned up. This work has already happened where there is a space allocated to allow for the parking requirements to be met. There's 21 parking spaces required on the site. Because there's residential immediately to the west, there's some buffering requirements that need to be met. So we've asked for some wood fencing and some intermediate buffering, as well as some lighting, as that the proposed business is planning to be open 24 hours a day with kind of a key fob type of use to get in there for access. Work on the property has already started, and my understanding is that they're hoping to open early in the new year. The financial implications, there are none for this report. The length of their strategic plan is balanced growth, and the recommendation is that report PB 29-24 site plan control agreement for 453 9th Street be received for information, and I'll answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Andrew. Are there any questions or comments? Councillor Sacco.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Andrew, for your report. Just a comment, I drove by there today. The signage is all up. It looks like it's ready to go. They cleared the lot like you said, and it looks like January is probably going to be a go for them. Thank you.
Very good. All right. 13.3 is report CL 1124. The subject is Council Board and Committees update, and it's from Vicki McDonald, our clerk. Vicki?
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to try to make it through this whole report without losing my voice.
I can volunteer Sherry if you want.
So as council is aware, the Municipal Act governs the creation and dissolution of local committees, advisory committees of council and ad hoc committees. The town's procedure bylaw outlines the process for appointments to committees, and the terms of reference for these committees establish their mandate, guiding principles, member responsibilities, and other general matters such as agendas, minutes, and reporting requirements. So as has been discussed recently at council, the strategic plan called for an organizational review. And one of the purposes of their review was to identify capacity, work-life balance, clarify roles and responsibilities, and identify gaps and duplication of efforts. And one of the central themes that was identified by Linton Consulting related to the roles, responsibility, and workload and the amount of overtime incurred by staff. At a recent management team meeting, discussion took place with regard to the numerous advisory committees and subcommittees and the amount of time that staff spend dealing with these committees. And as part of the report from Linton Consulting, they recommended that senior staff and management review the current staff participation in these committees and boards to identify the most appropriate staff member to participate, and if there was a way to streamline and realign committees based on their common functions and objectives. So as I indicated, senior staff and the management team have been in discussions about the potential efficiencies that could be achieved. And they're recommending that beginning January 2026, advisory committees and their affiliated subcommittees will meet every other month. The terms of reference will also be updated to reflect the scheduling change. And it will continue to be the regular meeting dates of every other month or at the call of the chair. And going forward, senior management will continue to look at further efficiencies through committee realignment. Another one of the objectives of the strategic plan was to provide a virtual option for residents to participate in town advisory committee meetings. To achieve this goal, staff have acquired a Meeting Owl device. So it is a single device that has video, sound, incorporated right into a single device so that, and it is portable so that it can be used at any municipal location for meetings. As well, we are purchasing a television to be installed in the Saugeen room so that if that option doesn't exist for some of the committee meetings or how they can use the Saugeen room to be able to facilitate that virtual meeting. Financial implications. These changes will result in reduction of the number of staff required to participate in numerous community committees and thus impact the level of overtime attributable to attendance at these meetings. The expenses related to offering hybrid meetings were incorporated into the 2024 budget at a cost of approximately $2,640. The link to the strategic plan, is it open and accessible? Sorry, I lost my page. I should know these off by heart. Open and responsible government. And the recommendation is the council receive report CL 1124, council board and committees update. And I'm open to any questions.
Thank you. Comments, questions? Councillor Cable.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just to clarify, so is the intent of this report is to let us know that committees will be moving to every other month, and then at a future date, staff will consider which staff members are best suited to the committees to make sure that we don't have too many staff attending each committee meeting.
So yes, the intent would be that starting in January 2025, we would move to an every other month meeting calendar, or as Vicky noted, at the call of the chair. So if there's committees that have business that requires committee input and direction, then that could be a call at the chair meeting if they're not scheduled to meet for that month. From a staff perspective, there was a summary provided on page 109 of your package to give you an idea of the staff attending. Where you see that there's 2 staff members attending, typically the second staff member is an administrative or minute-taking role. So I don't think we would reduce that beyond 2. The one committee where we have multiple staff is Parks, Recreation and Culture Advisory. And I think, again, the way the agenda items indicate for that committee, there's reports from each of those staff members. So maybe there's an opportunity to have those reports early, that those staff members could head home. There might be some alterations agenda-wise that can happen. Where you see that staff on page 109 are attending more for an interest sake, and I'll use myself as an example with Planning Advisory Committee. I choose to attend those meetings more from an interest perspective, so I can maintain what's happening from a planning perspective. Not that I don't have the heads up verbally sometimes, but it just allows me to keep a pulse on the committee perspective. So I don't see staff changing a whole lot, Councillor Cable, because of the minute taking part, but there may be some opportunities within the committees to adjust the agenda that would allow those staff members to leave following their info report section of the agenda accordingly.
Other comments or questions? Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just for clarification, it says our committees will meet every other month, but I know there are times when we don't meet at that frequency. Does this change it and make it we have to, or how are we handling that? Because I know landfill, for one, we'll go 3 or 4 months without meeting.
Through you, Your Worship. Committees, so Committee of Adjustment, they only meet when there's an application, so that would remain. Landfill, there's a pre-established schedule now going forward to meet quarterly, so that would remain. It would be for these committees that do meet monthly, that to provide opportunity or less meetings, for staff to not attend as many meetings.
So I just want to clarify, this is going to come into effect January 2025 or 2026? I heard both years.
Oh, my apology. It would be 2025.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, very good. Moving on to 13.4, this is the Grey County Joint Municipal Accessibility Advisory Committee, and Melissa is online.
Thank you, Your Worship. So yes, the committee met virtually in November, and we did already have some discussion around what this committee discussed during the meeting this evening. So Laura Kristen did join the meeting, and she presented to the committee to obtain input regarding the splash pad project, as well as the renovation of the washroom at Hanover Town Park. The committee provided feedback. They had some very minor suggestions, but good suggestions. And they did extend appreciation for the level of accessibility that was already considered within the project. So that was really great to hear. And then the committee obtained comments from related to the lease of space in Dundalk from Grey County. And they shared some information from the Ministry for Seniors and Accessibility on their web accessibility survey. Otherwise, it was a fairly short agenda, that meeting. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Melissa? Okay, no hands there, Melissa. We're good. Thank you. Item 13.5 is Committee of Adjustment meeting minutes. Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Committee of Adjustment met on Tuesday, November the 19th, with 2 minor variance applications on the agenda. The first was for 267th Ave, which is directly across north-south from the Travelers Inn. And it's a proposed accessory structure at the rear of the house. The structure will include a 60-foot by 20-foot garage in the basement and then storage on the main floor. So a 2-story, resulting in a total gross building area of 2,880 square feet, which exceeded the 600 square foot allowed by the zoning bylaw. The applicant currently has a garage, but will demolish it to facilitate the new development. And the applicant is requesting a variance to permit this construction. There was a little back and forth about it being a 2-story structure, but because of the landscaping of the property, the garage in the basement is actually causing the second floor to be on level with the rest of the backyard of the property. So the application was reviewed. He had spoken to his neighbors. There were no windows facing any of the neighbors. So it was reviewed and the There's no concerns about that, so that was passed. And then the second was minor variance for 302 9th Street. And again, it's a proposed accessory structure at the back of the house, and the plan includes a 30 by 25-foot building, half of which will serve as a garage for winter parking and the other half for recreational use. I believe they have family members that want to have like a little party space there. So the proposed setbacks align with the zoning requirements. Application was reviewed by the Planning Advisory Committee and there are no concerns. So that application was also granted.
Thank you. Any comments, questions? Okay, Launchpad Skills Training and Technology Center meeting minutes. This is item 13.6 on page 117. Councillor Sacco.
Thank you, Your Worship. The Launchpad Board of Directors met on December the 3rd. April reviewed the draft for the 2025 budget, and there was much discussion about some of the challenges and the opportunities. We were also making decisions about what would be presented to council on December the 9th. The youth program manager gave her report and reviewed programs that are underway for culinary workshop, introduction to woodshop, youth card making, shellac manicure, a mental health first aid course. We talked about school field trip planning, and it's underway. We hope to relaunch these early in 2025. Staff are also looking at promoting programs in the Town of Hanover Parks and Recreation Guide and by visiting local groups to promote our adult programs. And as you know from our December 9th meeting, when Julia and Adam came, a sponsorship package was presented to council, and we plan to release that in early 2025. If there are any questions, I can take those at this.
I don't see any hands raised, so we'll continue on. 13.7, this is correspondence from the Honorable Paul Calandra, who is the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. So this is to advise us that changes were made to the Planning Act to accelerate implementation of the province's additional residential unit, and you may hear of it as ARUs, in case you hear it a lot in the future. These changes allow the use of up to 3 units per lot in many existing residential areas without the need to apply for a rezoning. So we will probably hear more from that, or Andrew has probably heard already. Item 13.8 is also from the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. And this is, if passed, changes to the Municipal Act to strengthen the municipal code of conduct and integrity commissioner framework. So the proposed changes will enable the creation of a standard municipal code of conduct and standard municipal integrity commissioner investigation processes. It also establishes a mechanism to remove and disqualify members of council and certain local boards for a period of 4 years for the most serious code of conduct violations following a recommendation from the local integrity commissioner. A concurring report from the Integrity Commissioner of Ontario and a unanimous vote of council. And if you've been following anything with AMO or conferences, this has been a topic of discussion for, I'd say, almost 2 years coming up for municipal code of conduct. Councils have been asking for it. So we'll see if that passes when they bring it to the House. So, all right, item 14 is good news and celebrations, staff and council updates, and we're going to start with Councillor Sacco.
Oh, I'm so glad you chose me. Thank you, Your Worship. Because I'd like to begin with, this is my standing ovation It's for Hanover Community Players and their production of Sound of Music. If you didn't see it, you missed out on something wonderful. I was lucky enough to usher it twice, and it was just so amazing. We have so many talented actors and singers in this town, and the house was full. There was a standing ovation every night. Everybody loved it. There were just so many wonderful comments. So congrats to the Hanover Community Players. I would also like to send my thanks and congrats to the Hanover Rotary Club for all the work they've done, particularly with the parade and the Christmas in the market and the wagon rides and Santa. It wasn't easy to walk in that parade, especially with a costume that was not winter worthy, if you will, but it was a lot of fun, and I thank the Rotary Club for all their work.
Okay, anyone else? Deputy Mayor Dickert.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just want to take the opportunity to wish all our staff and fellow councilors a Merry Christmas. Thank them for their service throughout the year. It's been a busy year, and I thank everyone for that. And I also want to recognize our first responders and staff that will be on call or working over the Christmas period to keep our services running and keep our residents safe. So be safe, everyone, and enjoy this special time of year.
Thank you. Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Worship. Just a couple items here. I'd like to thank the Holy Family Glee Choir and the Red House Eatery for their sponsorship of lighting of the lights in Heritage Square. And also, I want to touch on the market. I want to thank the organization people who organized this Christmas market. They did a great job. It's hard work. They put a lot of time into it. So I just want to say well done. And also I volunteered at the Legion Meat Draw on Saturday, and there was 49 turkeys won. So
Did you win one? Councillor Hawking.
Me too, standing ovation. It was unbelievable, but I just want to recognize the community players who donated $1 off every ticket to the splash pad as a donation to a community project. So thanks to the community players. And I just love those little kids. They were fantastic. And can you think of organizing those kids the way they did, and they pulled that off? I echo Councillor Saxon. If you didn't attend that one, you missed a fantastic production, and it just gives me heartfelt warmth that arts and culture are alive in our community, and we've got some great things going on. So thanks to everybody. And I too echo Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, stay safe, don't drink and drive. Okay, thank you.
I want to say, when I attended the play, Marion was there from the Splash Pad Committee, thanking everyone. So that was nice to see. Like, you guys are working hard.
There was someone there every performance.
Microphone. Just
There was someone from the committee at every performance to thank the community players. So just for your information.
anyone else? Councillor Cable.
Thank you, Worship. The two notes that I was going to make have already been made. So certainly, as was noted, congratulations to Hanover Community Players, and a special thank you to those who organized the winter market in Heritage Square. It really was a beautiful day, and it was so nice to see so many local vendors that were there. I'd also like to congratulate the Hanover Bentinck and Brant Agricultural Society, which is making headway on plans to redevelop the former casino site at the Raceway. So their request for proposals for general contractor closed last Thursday, and the board is meeting tomorrow night to review the bids received and to award the contract. So it's an exciting step for the Agricultural Society. And Merry Christmas and Happy New Year's, Happy Holidays.
Very good. Councillor Hudson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to comment on all the great community effort that we have going on. We have a lot of great community groups. You've already mentioned the Rotary. We have the Legion that opened their doors to people after the parade for hot chocolate and hot dogs for the kids. And we do have a lot of groups that work very hard to make a great community spirit so we can all enjoy this time of year.
Okay, and I also want to give a shout out to all volunteers, supporters, and sponsors who support Hanover. Together, you make our community great. And because people could not hear me during the lighting of the tree, I especially want to thank Dale and Kathy Cousins from Canadian Tire for their generous donation of thousands of sparkling lights for the huge tree that is in Heritage Square Park. As well as I want to thank them for their sponsorship of Magic on Main, the lighting contest. So well done, kudos to them. Merry Christmas, everyone, and Happy New Year. So, and now, Councillor Fleet.
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, I did forget, I want to wish all staff and fellow councillors a Merry Christmas and Happy New Year and all the best going forward. It's been a pleasure the last year working with everyone and looking forward to a wonderful and hopefully a good 2025.
Any staff want to go ahead?
Okay, so this one's a little bit lengthy. It's called Snow Facts. Not that we want to hear about more about snow, but firstly, I want to thank our public works staff who've dealt with significant and consecutive days of snowfall since November 29th. And for our listening public and perhaps our council members, although I know our council members are in tune with our operational practices, I want to share this information. All of our available public works resources, staff, and equipment have dealt with the snow that we've been dealing with. And as per our winter maintenance, which takes into account roads and sidewalks. So our winter maintenance policy, it's available on our website on the Resident Services, Transportation and Road Maintenance tab. Our plowing is completed with priority given to main access roads, industries, routes to schools, and remainder of streets and cul-de-sacs. In addition, as per the provincial minimum maintenance standard, our staff have been able to achieve clearing required within 24 hours for roads. The town is appreciative of our residents for their understanding should they have experienced any delays in clearing and for the cooperation and assistance in our snow removal efforts by not parking on the roadways, specifically that first weekend when we weren't quite at that December 1st threshold for when tickets can be issued. I share the following though for interest's sake. The town maintains 48 kilometers for our road system, 35 kilometers of sidewalks, and 5+ municipal town facility parking lots with 1 grader, 1 loader, 1 backhoe, 2 snowplow / dump trucks, and 2 sidewalk machines. And I might add, that's 4 collective agreement staff and 1 salary staff and a couple of contract staff, so 7 staff approximately. To put it in perspective, to put into context, our sidewalk machines travel the equivalent of going to just past Harriston, Ontario to clear our sidewalks. So put that in perspective. Both our units to clear the sidewalks travel to just past Harriston, Ontario on a day of snow. Snow plowing commences at 3 a.m. upon snow accumulation of 8 centimeters or greater occurring prior to this time. That's per our policy. When snow accumulation of 8 centimeters is received after 7 a.m., no plowing will take place until 3 a.m. the next morning unless an emergency situation arises. As per our health and safety requirements, our operators can only work a maximum of 13 hours straight. They were doing that for most of that first week of November. Sidewalk clearing starts at 5 a.m. And here's again, I asked these questions of our Public Works Director this morning. Clearing when blading with the sidewalk machine can be completed in 3 to 4 hours. I'm trying to put this in perspective for our residents. Clearing when it requires the blower unit to be used. So that's after a heavy snowfall like we experienced on November 29th and 30th. It's 12+ hours to clear our sidewalks. Our roads clearing starts at 3 a.m. When we are sanding and salting only, we can have all of our roads done in 3 to 4 hours. And again, that's 48 kilometers of roads. When we plow and sand and salt, we can be completed in 7 hours. When we get a heavy snowfall like we do, or like we have in the last last 3 weeks, it's 10 to 12 hours to complete our roads. Snowbank removal, clearing starts at 1 a.m. When the accumulation on the edge of the traveled portion of the roadway impedes traffic flow or restricts parking on 10th Street in the downtown core area, snow removal, including haul-away shall occur. I was most impressed with our public works staff that snowfall of November 29th to December 1st. I walked the morning of, I guess it would be December 2nd, I walked the Monday morning. They had already cleared the south side of 10th Street. And then, so again, they had already cleared within 3 days of receiving the snowfall we had received, they were already clearing Main Street. So in the instance of November 29th to December 1st snowfall, most of 10th Street was cleared of snowbanks by Wednesday, December 4th. That's within 3 days of a significant snowfall. I really hope our listening public understands the commitment that our public works staff have. They're up in the middle of the night when the rest of us are sleeping to make sure that our roads and sidewalks are ready for us to be on in the morning, and we thank them for that. Thank you.
Very good. Other comments from staff? All right, so we'll move on to planning and other meetings. This is on our agenda here, all the dates scheduled for our meetings and also on our website. And dates to remember and announcements. The next regular council meeting is on January 13th, 2025 at 4 p.m. The municipal office will be closed on December 24th, 25th, 26th, and 27th. The next committee of the whole meeting will be on February 3rd, 2025 at 4 p.m. And at this time, I will ask if there's any notices of motion. Councillor Cable.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to make a notice of motion that council review the memorandum of understanding with Launchpad at a future meeting.
And you will work with the clerk and CAO to prepare that motion. Thank you. We do not have a closed meeting, but we do have our special meeting that is going to start right after this meeting. I think we'll take a short break. And I just want to mention to the public that you can watch that special meeting on the same original link that was listed on the agenda or on the website. So one further motion for this meeting, and that is to adjourn at 5:42. Councillor Hocking and Councillor Cable, all in favor? That's carried, and we will take a short break. Do you want to come back at 6? Or is that too long? 5 to 6? Okay.